Hello. Obviously, we're going to wait for, till class actually starts. But how's everybody's afternoon? Thanks, Christina. I'm glad to hear that. Whoever was going good.
Matt.
Oh. Hello. Are you are you at home, Matt? Or are you, cause you do campusy things?
Yeah, I'm at home this week. Well, I say I'm at home right now. I actually went to campus this morning, but I've actually split everybody in my department in half. So we're working half from home and half on campus. So yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been to campus since the Monday of spring break, and I was there for like 2 hours, and they were like, "Go home," and you're like, "No, okay, got it."
It's the weirdest thing. I was there this morning, and it's creepy almost. Like, I mean, I'm used to summertime, like working during the summer and Christmas break, and there's like a reduced number, but there's literally no one. So it's pretty weird. And then my office building is like a big open space, and it usually holds a few hundred people like working all the time. And right now, if you go in there, there's like 3 people working. So it's pretty strange.
Yeah, yeah, the whole thing. I mean, the whole thing across the world is strange, but yeah. Anyways, it's just weird when like it rubber hits the road, and you're like, oh, I can't do this. Marilyn, you're coming in and out. Are you trying to not let us see your face? Because I like seeing your face, and I can't.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm in a conference room, and someone else is using the conference room, so I have to like adjust so that you aren't like seeing the TV playing behind me and other things. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's legit. Are you not at home? Like your work?
My dad has a business, and he has like an office built. Would you stop? He has an office building, and I use it like to do work because I get more stuff done here than I do at home.
Yeah, I mean, I would too if I had like I mean, that's the benefit of going to the offices, because then it's like something different from home, which is what everybody's complaining about, being stuck at home. You are just lucky because you have somebody who actually has an office building. So you're like, oh, I'm going to my office today.
Yep.
So anyways, didn't mean to call you out. I just, you were coming in and out. Okay, it's class time. Let's see. Are there any like housekeeping things? I think I haven't changed everything online, and I don't remember if we talked about this. So the same thing has happened before we left, and I talked about it. We're not doing presentations in this class. Originally, the last 3 class periods were meant to do presentations because there's a lot of you, and so we're not going to do that. And so we'll lecture to the end of class. We can have your final exam was supposed to be before your presentations, and so it was going to be in like a week and a half. I'm inclined to push it back until either the last day of class or the day before that, and then you just have a free last day of class. So that would be the 23rd, and then if we for some reason get through a lot of material and like ready to take the test, we can take it early if we are inclined to, so you're not like all doing all this work all on the same day. So I just need to know if y'all are okay with that, because the option, so let me recap what the option is that we take the exam on the 23rd, because if not, then your exam is going to be in like a week and a half. And I'm not ready to give you an exam, and we haven't covered anything. So I don't think that makes sense for us, for our class and the way we've restructured it. So I say push it. Yeah, perfect, Jacob. I also agree. Does everybody, so I just updated my Zoom and I see the little reactions, but can everybody tell me if you're like, I can't, thank you, Jordan, that works. Okay, so everybody's good. I see, can everybody give me a few more? Yeah, I saw you, Ethan. Jonathan, you're gonna get.
Do it on the.
Yeah,
you did it on the 23rd. Would our market firm campaign still be due on the 23rd?
Yeah, so the same thing. So it's a good point, Christina. So you're still just a paper, and it's a group project paper. So it's still, I'll have those due on the 23rd, because there's fewer of them. So I don't mind grading an extra one of those. I won't change the deadline for that. I'll just have the same, everything will be due on the 23rd if we do the exam on that day. So it looked like everybody voted yes. So our exam will be the last day of class. The only thing we could change is that if we get done early and y'all are wanting to take the exam earlier, we can do that if it works better for everybody's schedules. But I'm guessing that you're probably not inclined to like want to volunteer to take an exam. So we can see how that plays out. Okay, so that was my thing. If somebody, all right, can somebody email me this and remind me to update it on Canvas? Jacob's gonna make a deal. Can we get rid of the exam, Jacob? I mean, what kind of deal are you making to not have an exam? Jacob's chatting with me, but not talking, and so I can't take 15% off of cash savers. That's a great deal, Jacob. But I think we're gonna have to have the exam anyways. I thought you were gonna be like, no, we'll all do presentations and we'll incorporate all the information. And I was like, well, I mean, if you're, it was worth a shot. It was definitely.
Well, hey, Ricky's making us do a 10-person present or 7-person presentations. So
I'm not here for that. So.
Please don't make us do that. Like,
no.
That sounds horrible.
On all fronts, as somebody who like already has a hearing problem, like this does not sound like something enjoyable. I also think that there's, we've gotten a lot of, we don't have like a specific direction. What we do have is, hey, listen, this is an unprecedented time where we're all coming together and you didn't sign up for online classes. We didn't sign up to teach online classes. And so we're not trying to make things easier, but I do think that we need to adjust the classes to make them effective for our class here. And so my version of that is to not make you do 3 people presentations. That does not sound fun. So no presentations, but you will have to have an exam. I mean, I'm not going to turn down 15% off a cash saver, Jacob. I'm just kidding. I don't even think I have a cash saver around me.
Yeah, I can make it happen.
Duly noted. Okay, so I think that were all of our things. For details, is there anything else that I haven't thought of that somebody's asked me and I've had to answer you? Any detaily things? Nope. No cleaning up of, I call them housekeeping things. Okay, so last class we got to talking about, we did break-even analysis, and we went through hold on, before we get to break-even analysis, we finished our pricing strategies. So previously we talked about different types of psychology pricing, like analysis by paralysis, price anchoring, price point pricing, and then we pricing at a premium, pricing for market penetration, and then last class we finished those off and we talked about 3 more. Can somebody tell me what any of those 3 were?
Price skimming.
Price skimming. What is price skimming? No, it's in your notes.
Set at a high introductory price and then lower price as competing goods appear on a market.
Yeah, so the idea behind price skimming is I'm going to come in high and I'm going to get all the profit I can, and as soon as anybody starts imitating me, I can drive my price down. So oftentimes this isn't associated with a product that's like super high quality, and it's going to be high quality and you're demanding the high price because you're elite, right? Because that's pricing at a premium. This is, hey, I'm going to come in, nobody else is in the market, so I'm going to charge you more, and as soon as there's any type of competitors, I'm going to lower my price. What was another one of those that we talked about on Tuesday?
Economy pricing?
Yeah, Nathan, what's economy pricing?
Attracting price-conscious consumers by offering a good at the lowest price.
Yeah, so economy pricing is just going to be we're trying to get the lowest price out there. If as a strategy, you're like, listen, I'm not elite, I'm not coming in, there's already too many other types of competitors, I'm coming in and just hitting the price. This is that kind of everyday low price, but as a strategy that says like, listen, I'm just going to come in and offer you the lowest price possible. Really good for homogeneous goods. Like, we're not going to be able to get rents, just whatever price I possibly can get, that's what I'm going to get, just at a low price. I can't tell if that was a comment for me. It was just sounds in the background. Nope. Okay. I'm not looking at anybody. I just, when I hear something, you're like, oh, is this me? And then the last one was cost plus pricing. And this is what Jacob talked about. Cash Saver uses this strategy where it's just, here's the cost. We're going to add some kind of margin on top of that, and we're going to move on. So a lot of retailers use that in terms of how they're going to price their goods, is they just set some kind of standard margin on them. Typically when you're, if you are selling to businesses, you have to figure out what price you're going to, if you're going to have. I like that Christopher is having some kind of conversation with somebody. And so it's like, just, it makes him look like he's teaching them about our stuff. Okay. So, and then we went to break-even pricing, and we said that there are two different ways of break-even pricing. Let me start sharing my screen while y'all are telling me, what are my two different ways of break-even pricing? Anybody?
You find the break-even price or break-even units?
Yeah. So, oh, that's perfect. I was making sure my, sorry, I just got a notification on something else, but let's make sure that it's so I figured out how to make my notifications not show up on my iPad. So we either are going to find our break-even price, or we're going to find our break-even quantity. I get my little chat box over here. Units or price. Thank you, Riley, for responding to that. It just took me a minute to get my chat open. So the idea is that sometimes if we're on the supply side and we're trying to figure out what the heck price do I need, what's my minimum? Because sometimes it's not even just what psychology pricing, what price points we want to hit, what bandwidths are we going to go into. It's, I don't even know what my bare minimum needs to be, because I need to make sure I covered my costs. And so that's what we're trying to do, is figuring out with break-even price and break-even units is, can I cover my costs, and how many units or what price do I need to do in order to cover my costs? We went through an example of those, and then we're going to talk about margin of safety, and we're going to go through an example of all of that again. So are there any questions up until this point? That's just the recap from Tuesday. Everybody's good? I'm going to assume everybody's good. Okay, so we're going to talk about margin of safety, and then we're going to talk about the limitations of these two ways of pricing. So we're going to talk about the margin of safety. And I'm sure there's a good sporty reference I should have, but I don't have a lot of sporty references. So football terms, go sports. And the margin of safety is this an idea of how close are you to only making by doing the bare minimum. So and we're going to get into equation of it, but break-even analysis is like, this is, I'm covering my costs, and the margin of safety is how much above that break-even am I actually doing. And so we're going to get into a percentage in a second, but think about it like, if your margin of safety is 2%, that means you're really close to only breaking even, right? And so as a firm, like, I might be concerned if I have a margin of safety of 2%. If I have a margin of safety of 85%, that means I am like way above only making cost. And which not making cost is making profit, right? And so it's not necessarily just a measure of, I mean, we could think about it as, I guess you could think about it as a measure of profit, but as a measure of profit related to the break even. So with that being said, hold on, let me make sure I have all this. Yeah, so with that being said, let's talk about the equation. So our margin of safety is, it equals our current output minus our break-even output. And then because we do this as a percentage, so a margin of safety percent is divided by current output. And then we multiply it by 100. Or if you're inclined, I think you can do, and we can double check this. I haven't done the math, but it should also be oh yeah, we have to do it this way because we have to have the margin of safety percent. So we have to subtract those. You can't just take break even divided. I guess you could do. I'll have to do some math in a second. So let's do an example. So let's say sales is 4,200,000. Our break even is 3,957,188, because why not? Our margin of safety. Oh, no, I guess I could let you calculate that. Yeah, so let's calculate our margin of safety. So our margin of safety percent is going to equal what? Let me walk me through that. I'm also going to grab my calculator out too.
Is it 5.7%?
Yeah, it is. How did you do that, Christopher?
4,200,000 minus 3,959,188 over 4,200,000.
Yep. I know you're just repeating what's on the equation to just make sure we're on the same. Minus 3,959,188 over 4.2 mil, which is the same thing as 242,812 divided by 4,200,000, and that is going to give us 5.78%, I think. And then I was going to divide that by. Yeah, you can also, as an alternative, so this is one way to do it. The alternative way you can calculate this, so we have this kind of current output minus break even output over current output. You can also do it by your break even divided by current output minus 1, or 1 minus. I guess you could do 1 minus that, because it's going to be a smaller percentage. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And then absolute value of that answer. And it'll get you the same 5.78%. That is just an alternative. I'm going to erase that because it's going to take up space and I don't want it to be there. But just so you know that there's an alternative way to calculate that. So what we basically what we said is that where we are in terms of production is 5.78% above where we need to be in order to cover our costs. So is 5.78% good or bad? I mean, it's going to be relative to the firm you're in, like what kind of company you have. If you have a steady stream of sales and you know that you're always going to be, 5.7% might be perfectly fine. So the number itself is not, it's kind of like most things with economics where we say, it depends. Where we say, I thought I did this thing where I was going to stop notifications and I didn't. I was still getting emails coming through. Sorry about that. So what we're trying to figure out is, it depends. It depends on your firm. It depends on what you're producing. I'm going to make the argument that a higher margin of safety means that you're less as close to only covering your cost. But a lot of companies function in like just in, just out, some kind of like really short margins, and which means you're not functioning on a lot of profit. And so you might have a super small margin of safety. So right now is an example of that, if we thought about how many times people don't stock a lot of toilet paper in the grocery stores, right, in the back of the stores, because most of the time the demand doesn't change. For the most part, it's a pretty steady demand. Maybe around the holidays you might spike a little bit, but for the most part, it's going to be a pretty steady demand. What we had was what we call a black swan event, was something that's just like so outside of the normal. It's so crazy. This is, blowing everybody's minds. And so then what we have is we have this huge event, and then all of a sudden the margin of safety, right, in terms of, this is unprofitability, but the margin of safety in terms of stocking is like non-existent, right? So the amount of safety net that was there doesn't work. So you're functioning on a 5% margin of safety. That might be fine until one time that, there's a huge event and everybody quits buying your product because somebody told everybody that, eating bananas kills you. I don't know. And so then everybody quits eating bananas for a week, so that might be a problem in terms of a margin of safety. Stop. And then, okay, I wanted to go, before we're done with this whole section, because this is the end of our pricing analysis. Oh no, I want to talk about we're going to go through another example. I got to find it though. Hold on a second. I feel like today is a discombobulated day. I don't know about you guys. It's like this whole time has been ups and downs of like how good things are going. And I feel like today is just not nailing it. It is not a nail it day. So I'm sorry. We're teaching it on a not nail it day. So let's go through another example where we do all the things. So let's talk about fixed costs are 35,000. Let's say a cost per shoe. Let's see, material cost per shoe, because remember we're going to be Swifty feet again, are $30. Labor per shoe is $15, and then our price per shoe retailing is 15 is $65. So let's start by telling me what the break-even units are given the price that we just had. Huh?
Does labor per shoe, is that 115 or
No,
50?
it's 15. I like tried to squish it around here.
Is it
Just making sure.
pairs, like pairs of shoes? We don't have to like double this.
No, it's per pair of shoe. Yes, pairs of shoe. We actually only have a one-feeted bunny rabbits in this whole scenario, so they only need one shoe. But I chat. No, I'm just kidding. It's for pairs of shoes. Pair. I only see the few people who actually have their cameras on, and some of them look like they're working. Can I get somebody who is not showing me their face? I mean, you can. I'm happy to see your face. Respond to me and tell me. I mean, I'll start calling you out, so that will be the thing. To tell me what the break-even units are. Okay. Let me scroll down here. And random person is, oh my goodness, scroll. Tyler Millsaps. I know how excited you are now, Tyler. Tyler, tell me what my break-even units are. Is Tyler just on our call without being on the call? Are we having technical difficulties? You are muted, Tyler, in case you didn't know that. Mic won't work, but I'm also not sure price per unit. Price per unit is $65. Tyler's still working and his mic's not working. What about you, Parker? What are my break-even units?
So 35,000 plus. So you got a variable unit of. So your variable cost per unit is 110 for each unit, right? With material, labor, and price.
No. So our variable costs are going to be just that $45. So it should be material and labor, and then the price is the price.
Okay, so
So I'm really quick, Parker, I'm gonna jump in here. So Parker's point was, the first thing we need to do is figure out what our variable costs are, because we have our fixed costs. So our variable costs equal these two are our variable costs.
35 plus 15, which is 45.
Yep. So we have a variable cost now, we have our price, and we have a fixed cost. So what's our equation? Parker, what's our equation for our break-even units?
Somebody help me out with that one.
Fixed cost divided by price minus variable cost. So it's 35,000 divided by 65 minus 45.
Yeah. So 65 minus 45.
1750.
What did you say?
1750.
Perfect, 1750. And what that is the number of units I need to sell in order to cover all of my costs. So basically we're breaking down how much money we're making between our variable costs and our fixed costs, and then saying we need to sell 1,750 units in order to cover all of our fixed costs. So now we have these kind of units, but let's pretend for instance that we don't know our price. Okay, let's say that our price isn't 65, and let's say that what we wanted to know is how many, what our price should be given we can produce so many things. Because at Swifty Feets here, you know, we're all about ethical labor, and so we know how many units we can produce, especially given in the pandemic right now, production's going down, you know, at the rabbit factories. And so let's do break even money or price, given that we can do for 500 units. And then everybody also, we're gonna do break even price for 1,500 units. So we're gonna hire the Swifty Feet's grandmas that used to sew the shoes. Now we're gonna come back and sew more shoes. So we can either produce 500 shoes or we're gonna do 1,500 shoes. And we know how much we're gonna charge for those shoes if we produce that many shoes. So everybody work on, tell me how much price or what price that should be. But to help everybody out really quick, before we do, what can somebody tell me? Actually, here, we'll call somebody out. Kayla, you tell me what the equation is for break-even price.
It's the fixed cost over, hold on, I'm still trying to find it.
Yep.
So it's like fixed cost over the price.
Volume? You mean volume? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, volume.
Mm-hmm. And then what do we do?
And then you add 49, or the variable cost of it.
Yeah, we add the variable cost. So our equation for our break-even price is going to be fixed cost over volume plus variable cost. So everybody calculate that for a quick minute. I'm gonna sit here. Okay, from the, I think we might be able to start moving on. Let's see, somebody else who has not responded to me in the past forever. Alexis Walker, because you're my first on my list. What's my break-even price for 500 units?
I got 115.
Yeah, you got that because it's correct. $115. And what does that mean, Alexis Jenkins? Whoop. Are you there? Well, you're on mute. In case you need to know, you take yourself off mute. Okay, we're gonna come back to you, Alexis. Heather Manis, what does it mean to have $115 for my break-even price?
Yeah, so it'll be at $115 per pair of shoes. You'll be able to cover all of your costs with no profit.
Yes, perfect. We're saying that if we produce 500 units, that we should sell it at least $115 per pair of shoes. And the reason why we might care about this again is we have to, sometimes it's really good to know what the bare minimum cost you should make. Have you ever been to somebody and they charge less than the cost to produce something, and so then they're losing the money? This is the cost. Getting back to my office examples, the office, when Michael Scott Paper Company was selling paper for less than their cost, they had to take the prices up or they were going to go under. This is an example of that. Okay, Sam, somebody else? La la la, scroll it down. Connor Nichols, what is my break-even price for 1,500 units?
I got a 68.33.
Yeah, I didn't even write the 0.33, but that I'm sure that is totally correct. So 68.33, I'm gonna just round it up to $68. I know there's 33 cents in there. So in order, if we can produce, we can sell those shoes for a lot cheaper if we're producing a lot more of them, right? Now, if you are this firm, if you're Swifty Feets, Sweet Sneaks, we should round up, Christopher. I didn't because I am moving quick and moving along. So let's see, really quick. Brandon Connolly, it's assuming that we should round up. So this is 0.33, or we should go to $69. We're going to round up to break even. Brandon Connolly, should that be the actual price I charge in the store? It's gonna get really hard, guys, if you're not answering me.
They're answering just on the chat.
Yeah, sometimes. So Brandon, so you're saying to break even, yes. So should you, as a Swifty Feet, is that the way you're gonna price your store in the store?
I guess I'm not real sure.
Does anybody want to have another answer?
If you want to make a profit, you should increase it.
Right. So the idea is these are break-even prices. This is like, I'm just covering my costs. If I don't know about you, but if I'm going to spend all the effort to make something, I want to make money off of it. I want to make some kind of profit. So the question is, and Brayden answered correctly, is to break even. Yes. Well, that is correct. To break even, that's what I should price this as. But I don't want to break even. I mean, most people, if you can make money, that's what you should price as high as people are willing to pay for it. Right. I mean, that's the argument. And so at the store level, you should charge more than what we're charging right here. This is the minimum price you should charge. Anything above it is gravy. So we just had fixed costs and break even, and then we're going to look at our margin of safety. So make sure I have all the things, break even output. So sorry, I'm making sure I'm giving you the right numbers that we don't need to go up. So for our margin of safety, we have, let's say our sales are going to be 130,000. Our break-even dollars that we didn't calculate it because, total number of output is 113,750. And yeah, that's all we need. What's our margin of safety? Our margin of safety percent. As a reminder, here is the equation. Current output minus break-even output over current output times 100. So here's our numbers, our sales, and our break-even dollars.
It's 12.5.
Yep. So that's 12.5%. And how do we calculate that? It was Matthew who was answering me.
Yeah, it's just 130,000 minus 113,750, and then divide that by 130,000, and then multiply by 100.
Yep. And then 130,000 times 100. And that's going to give us 12.5%. Can somebody other than Matthew tell me what that means?
Would that be the difference between what we're selling at and our safety margin, which would be our break even point?
Can you repeat that? Oh my goodness, this is so hard. Yep.
It would be like the difference in what we're actually selling at between where we need to be at to break even. Like that margin in between is our safety.
Yeah, so it's like how much we're actually making and then how much we need to break even. This is how much squish room we have. So kind of the gravy that I was talking about, this is the percentage of gravy we're making. And so we can think about it as like profitability. It is a measure of profitability, but it's a measure of profitability when we're factoring in like that break-even point. And so we're saying like, how close are we to that break-even point? So the lower the number, the closer we are to break-even. The bigger the number, the further away we are from break-even. So knowing that, do we want to be close? Do we want a small percentage or a big percentage? Yeah, Christopher, we want a big percentage. Sorry, I'm responding to a message. Yes, we want a big percentage, right? We want a big percentage because that means we're further away from our break-even point. That is it. I think last year gave some homework home, but I can't find it. I think we have a lot of things going on. I can create a homework over this. It's going to be something like this, or I have not decided whether we're going to do homework or not. Huge. No, thank you, Christopher. It's going to be huge. I have. Sorry, that made me laugh. Obviously. So I haven't decided if we're going to do homework on this or not. I think that you all seem to get it. We might have another example practice or something I can send out to practice. I imagine or foresee this being on your exam. So I would definitely want to look at how to calculate these things and understanding what they mean and being able to explain that. So before we move on, because this is the end of our section on pricing analysis, are there any questions? Take that as a no questions. It's 2:46. Let's take our break for the day. So if anybody wants to go do your thing, here, I'll stop sharing for a minute so we can all see each other's lovely faces. Yes. Okay. If anybody has any food news, I have food news, but I will open the floor to anybody else's food news. Nope. Okay. My food news for the day. Ben & Jerry's is coming out with a Chip Happens ice cream. I like that Marilyn laughs, but we can't hear her, but you could see it, the laugh, and that makes my heart happy. It's chocolate chips and then literal potato chips in there. And I was gonna say, initially I was like, that's kind of weird, but has anybody ever had French fries and Frosties at Wendy's? And that's delicious. So I don't know, never tried potato chips and ice cream.
My only thing is it wouldn't be crisp by the time you got it. It would be like soggy potatoes.
Soggy potatoes in your ice cream. Not even, I mean,
like cold.
Yeah.
Like not even hot. Like I don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, if somebody finds it, you try it and you tell me if it's good or not. I agree, because soggy potato chips does not sound good, but I wonder if it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I think because French fries are good because they're warm, right? And they're salty, and they get the mix with the cold ice cream. You're like, oh, that's good. And the chocolate chips sound good. I don't know about a potato chip in my ice cream. Although, has anybody put ketchup on your potato chips? Poor kid growing up, and it was like, we used to do that. Put a little ketchup on my plate, get my little potato chips and my ketchup. Anyways, all sorts of things. I didn't know this, but it's National Burrito Day. And it's really sad that we're all stuck inside because, and a lot of these restaurants that they're giving away like free things. So I guess if you get a burrito from like Chipotle and you put a queso on there, they don't charge you for it. And some other things, which seems like they probably could just not charge you for it in general. But, and then, let's see. And then we got, you know, but they all have like curbside. And then my final food news for the day is, there's a thing called Vinebox, VINE, but it sells wine. And so it's Vinebox, and they're giving you 12 days of wine during this quarantine. They're like, here, it's 12, and they're giving you like a tasting sampler of a whole bunch of different ones if you're inclined to want to know. 12 different wines. It's called Vinebox. I don't know the price. It was just on my Food News networks.
How do they check your ID for that?
This is a good question, Christina. I don't even know. I'm sure like there's probably like some camera you have to be like, here's my face and here's my ID. But that also seems like it's leaving you open for like fraud, identity theft, or something like that. But I don't know. It's direct to mail, so.
I know that like. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe you just put like your driver's license in or something, like your driver's license number.
Yeah, it could be something like that, like they normally scan or like they type it in. What are you saying, Marilyn?
I know because you've been like, you can order wine on Amazon, and I know that if you can, but they will not give you the package if somebody over 21, like with proof that they're over 21, doesn't accept it. Like they won't leave it or anything. Like.
So you have to be home to receive your wine you got on Amazon. Is this like just cheap wine, or is this like fancy wine too?
There was a lot of wines last time I looked. It was like, middle, like 10 to 20.
Mean, I don't drink wine in general. I don't drink a lot of things, but like I was just curious if this is like, I don't know, are they selling like fancy Pinkies Up wine or just anything?
I found wines on there that like I drank like and bought in grocery stores, so like they're on there.
Huh. So, I wonder if that's because of like Whole Foods and them purchasing that. Maybe,
yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? Well, just so you know, Vinebox, VINE box. You can get a 12 sample taster. A lot of the other things, it's funny because do you all get the emails from like retailers, and you could tell that they had created the email before all of this pandemic happened, and so they're like, come after the store and look for this, and you're like, not gonna head to that. Or there was one that was like, go to your local, like, I don't remember, it was like a movie theater or something, that they're like, go to your local theater. Like, I think theaters are shut down right now. Probably not gonna do that. Anyways.
Probably the saddest thing is checking like ZipRecruiter and like all of the job sites, and they're like, oh, we've experienced so much growth and so much explosion. Like we have like hundreds of jobs to apply for, and like just kind of looking at that like, no, that's not happening anymore. So those definitely got made before.
Yeah, no, most definitely, right? Like it's like you're not actually staying up on top of what the situation is. I had a friend that she works. I think I told you about it. That she works for the newspaper, and her boss. So everybody's working from home right now, and her boss. They'd set up some kind of promotion, and for some reason they decided to put her phone number as a number to call for this promotion, and so she's getting like thousands of calls at her house right now, like just having it off the hook. And she's like, why did she call them? Was like, did you put my number? And he's like, oh, I guess we did put your real number. And she's like, yeah, I'm not okay with this. Again, people not always thinking about things and stopping it. Christina, April Fool's, everybody. And I read it said April Fool's, and there was a moment of like, huh, what? And the April Fool, in case it's in the chat box if you're inclined to go look at it. Just so you see.
I looked up the Vinebox, and they're all like not like $80, $90.
Oh, those are Pinkies Up triers. So,
but they're like these little tubes.
This is for people who have a lot of disposable income. They're not hurting if you're probably trying this. There's this thing that's called, Delish has this thing called Food News. And so I'm not always like sometimes they're way outside of the realm of normal people purchases. And then sometimes they're normal people stuff. Like that's the one where I saw like the cheese shaker for Kraft macaroni and cheese, but it also had something about, last year it was talking about going on a trip to what's it called? it was a train that, what's that? Oh, tequila. It was a tequila train. And so you can get on the train and it's all you can drink tequila for like 2.5 hours. And so, which I imagine that by the end of the train ride, you're feeling very happy and you don't care really where you are. Anyways, that was the food news. So lots of different branches of things. Okay. Unless anybody has any other food news, we're going back to class. Or I can't tell if anybody's back. Normally, like, I wait till I see that, Ethan likes to go get water or use the restroom. And so usually I'm like, oh, Ethan's back now. We can start class again. He's got his water with him. So we don't need to wait for him. So I'm going to assume everybody's back. That was the moral of that story. Go back to sharing here. I'll grab my new notes. Back to this. Back to time, back to reality. So we are now starting on section 6, marketing. And so up until this point, we have talked about the entire supply chain. We've talked about pricing. We've talked about ideas of how do you figure out what your minimum price is? How do you figure out what your minimum units are? We've talked about warehousing and forecasting, and we've kind of gone through all this. And now we're getting into, okay, so you set up a price, or so you're selling it to a place, or so you're at a certain point in your business cycle. What does marketing mean, and how do we use it effectively as a business? And so we're going to talk about the difference between marketing versus branding. Does anybody want to tell me what they think marketing versus branding might be, the difference between those two things? Yeah, anybody?
Could you say like branding is branding your whole brand as a whole, and then marketing is just like individual products?
Yeah, so let's take that even further. So not so much like as an individual product. So we think of marketing as the vehicle that gets out what's a message, and branding is like the feeling you have left over. So I'm going to talk about Hillshire for example. Think about brands are bigger than marketing efforts. So marketing effort is like the campaign that like gets you to know the jingle, right? So can anybody remember the commercial that was like, but Hillshire Farms, go meats, and it was like they sang on the commercial. So I see Christina. Does anybody else remember? Yeah, see, Matthew did. So what we have is that is a marketing campaign, right? Like it was a brand awareness. Brand is the feeling you have that that Hillshire Farms has quality meat, that they sell meat, that they're a meat company. So it's what's left over after the marketing is done. So marketing is the jingle, brand is the feelings you have about the company left over. And so brands is that kind of overarching product or company. And so Christina brought up the thing about like different products individually. And a lot of times those products have different marketing campaigns, but overall there's a brand that happens, right? And so if you look in advertising sometimes, you can see where sometimes they're marketing a specific product, and sometimes they're just marketing the brand as a total. So an example behind this might be Budweiser is often marketing Budweiser as a brand, right? Budweiser sells lots of types of beers and other things, but a lot of times it's marketing Budweiser. Or we think of something like Nike or Adidas, who advertises just Nike or Adidas, and the people in the commercials are wearing everything Nike or Adidas. They're wearing all the clothes, they're wearing all the gear, because they're marketing just their brand, and they want you to buy all of their goods, and they're not tying it to a specific product. And sometimes there's a marketing campaign literally for a shoe, right? I don't know why I always think of Air Jordans. It's probably because they were big growing up. They have an advertising campaign for Air Jordans specifically, right? That's for a product and not necessarily the brand. So this brings us to this idea of what brand equity is. So marketing is that campaign, and branding is the idea or feelings we have about specific brands. And so brand equity is the value that's placed into a brand. And so this includes brand equity, includes things like, here, I'll throw one out there. Name awareness. Let me also open up my chat so in case anybody talks with me. So we're going to have things like brand equity is going to be something like name awareness. It's going to be something like perceived quality. Okay, so brand equity is this idea that we have this perceptions of the brand that's associated with quality. It might be something like strong brand associations. The NRA or the not the NRA, the road national PBR, professional road. What's the Bull Riders Association, right? Like the
PBR.
Yeah, so PBR, the Professional Bull Riders, and Carhartt, right? Like those brands are very. Now you might think of Carhartt on other things as well, but if there's a PBR, almost everybody at the PBR wears Carhartt and Wranglers, right? Like it's a very brand associated thing. I don't know. My dad used to watch it, so I clear things on that. There are other ones. Does anybody want to give me another thing you might think that's associated with brand equity? You can chat about it too. I have it open. So just need thoughts. Goodwill, yeah, something like that. So what do we want to call this? And like a social capital or something. Something kind of association with like they're associated with like goodwill, that they're donating money, that they're donating something. Like PETA. I'm thinking more like Tom's brand, right? Tom's the shoes, buy one, give one, right? Like they're associated with this kind of social, this goodwill. Those are, Jacob, that's a nice guess. That is, he tried to have, Jacob's guess was Tiger King and Carol Baskin. And this is, I have not watched it, so I only know roughly all the memes are about. But I do know that it's going to be, he tried to create a brand for himself. We're going to think of other things like patents, right? Trademarks. We're going to say something like a channel relationship. And I'm going to tell you what that is. So remember I said we can market to multiple channels early in the semester? When you're on the board, all these different types of channels you can market to. You could market to a retailer. You could go direct to customer. You could go online. You could go to a wholesaler. There's these different types of channels. Think of a channel relationship as where you're only selling at specific stores, right? So Pioneer Woman only sells at Walmart. That's a channel relationship. So if you want something that's Pioneer Woman, you're going to have to go to Walmart to find it. Boar's Head is only sold, it has a channel relationship with the stores that they sell in, that you can only sell Boar's Head or private label. You can't sell other brands if you're going to sell Boar's Head. So if you go to a store and they sell Boar's Head, like in their deli section, they won't have other types of meats. They will have Boar's Head and they will have some kind of private label, and that will be it. I think sometimes Crutchmeyer gets thrown in with Boar's Head, but it's kind of a private label. So can anybody think of another example of a channel relationship?
You know, like you go to a restaurant and it's either Coke or Pepsi.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Like our campus probably has something. Are we a Coke campus? Yeah, I see Marilyn shaking her head. Yeah, right. So we're probably a Coke campus, right? I remember those Coke machines on the first floor of Morgan Hall that we're not in anymore. That's a channel relationship. A lot of times they're creating this bond so that we're associating both Coca-Cola and Tennessee together, right? And so that like, oh, I want this nice cool Coke. And we're going to get more into some branding, which associated with Coke in just a minute. but I wanted to think about like these kind of channel relationships. So when we talk about brand equity and we talk about how the value we put in a brand, because when brands crash, it's a big deal, right? Like normally you might have a failure, you might have like a product that bunks out, but as long as you have some kind of brand equity, the people are like, that product didn't work, it was a failure, but you can come back. So like an example of this, Samsung had all of those phones that caught on fire, right? They had all these phones that you couldn't fly with for a long time. People are still buying Samsung phones. Now, their brand equity dropped and their perception went down, but people are still buying Samsung phones. They came out with another phone that doesn't catch on fire. You know, they solved the problem. The problem is something like Jack in the Box, where you lose so much brand equity that you kind of lose the public favor. And so that's kind of the argument behind sometimes companies that fail, right? That they just lost the public favor, Sears or something like that. So as an example, when we talk about brand equity and we talk about marketing, there's oftentimes these marketing campaigns that we associate with our brand, right? Can anybody think of a type of advertisement that is so wholly associated with a product that you're like, everybody's going to know this commercial?
Like the Budweiser commercials, the Budweiser horse commercials.
Yeah, right. Like if you see a Clydesdale, like we are all immediately going to be like, is this Budweiser? If I see a Clydesdale on the TV, I'm going to assume it's a Budweiser commercial. It might be somebody else, but I'm going to do that. Yeah, Justin brought up the Chick-fil-A cows. If we see the Chick-fil-A cows, we know what brand that is. They have such a brand association that like we see Holstein cows and we're like, Chick-fil-A, we eat more chicken, right? And this is years in the making. I mean, I think I don't remember when Chick-fil-A came out. Madison brought up the sad dog commercials from ASPCA. Totally. When you start hearing, what's her name? Sarah McLachlan's In the Arms of an Angel, you know, we're going to start thinking about sad dogs. Kit Kat, give me a break, break me off a piece of that fancy feast. That's an Office reference. I was just joking. Mayhem Dude for the intro. Yeah, Mayhem Dude, right? We're going to start seeing these types of super strong. So here's another kicker. Do you remember he now serves for the Verizon guy? Can you hear me now? Good. He's now using he's out for what commercial now? Is Sprint, is that who he's working for? So he himself was the face of Verizon, right? He was the Verizon guy, and then Verizon dropped him because they didn't want him anymore. They wanted to go somewhere else. Sprint picked him up and started being like, oh, hey, we jumped on another network. And so now he's, you know, going off from other things. Yeah, you guys have lots of good examples. Sprint, Jake from State Farm, the Kool-Aid Man, Flo from Progressive, right? Like all of these people who are going to be so associated with the brand equity, and they're creating equity and this idea that we're associating with them. One of the big kickers with marketing and branding is any action you're going to take. Oh yeah, Peyton Manning and Papa John's. That's a good example, Jacob. Any action you're going to take is going to build up or tear down brand. So any type of marketing, any type of tweet you're going to do, you're either building up or you're going to tear down your brand. Now, what happens is sometimes they go, oh yeah, we're going to do this, and it like bunks out. Think of when IHOP decided they wanted to be burgers, and it wasn't a joke, right? Like it wasn't a joke. I'm pretty sure, unless somebody wants to send me the link where it says it was not a joke. I'm pretty sure I remember when it happened last year. It was like, no, it was for real. They saw flagging numbers, and they said, hey, let's get into this kind of other foods besides breakfast. And you're like, but literally your brand is breakfast. Like your brand is pancakes. You can't change your name just because you want to now. And people create allegiances and loyalties to brands. Like we all create allegiances and loyalty to brand. I can't see you all because there's only a few of you that actually like put your face up there. But in class, I saw you all wearing the same brands over and over. Oh, hey, look at who is this joining? Oh, hey, Jacob. Sorry, now you're on there. It made me happy. And so what we have is these brands, right? Like I can't see your brand. Like, are you wearing a Carhartt hat? Yeah, see, Carhartt hat, talking about Carhartt. We have these brands and we have these allegiances and loyalties to them. And so because, here, let me scroll this up. Brands compete for emotional value. So brands are going to compete for your emotional value. We talked about the emotional value, right? Is that it elicits some emotion in you, that you're happy to have this brand, that you're excited, and that social value. And so brands are competing for all of this, right? They're competing that they want you to be associated with that. Remember when we talked about the social value and creating this tribalism around a brand? Brands want you to create that tribalism because they want you to form a set of opinions and emotional expectations and preferences for their company or for their brand. Because if you have expectations, you're going to keep coming back. And the idea is, I want to make you a customer for life. Like, I don't want you, to just buy a good and go away. So we are going to go through a really cheesy example, and it's called it's using relationships. So as a threshold here. So we're going to do some. It's a big triangle here. And let's break this up into threes here. And these are emotional values. And this is going to be low, medium, and high. So this value that we associate, this kind of emotion that's associated with these brands. And then this is going to be the, we'll call it the introduction or the hook. And that's how you're going to get past the threshold. And call this, we're going to call this, let's change the color on that so it's not. The relationship threshold. So we're going to use relationships as an example here to talk about how brands are wanting to, it's called the emotional value stream funnel. This emotional value stream funnel. So what we have is we had this relationship threshold, and so we have to have some kind of introduction, a hook. This is seeing a commercial. This is some way to be introduced to the product. At some point in your life, we were all introduced to Coca-Cola, right? It might seem ubiquitous, and we all know what the heck it is now, but at some point we were introduced to it. And that was our hook. That was our introduction. And the first step is this affiliation. And this is the, and obviously this is this is relationship. And as we go down, we get deeper in that relationship. So our relationship is going to get stronger the more we funnel down. And so the first step is this affiliation. And this is going to be the, like, I like that. Like, I like that good, right? Like, I like this as a product. And in our relationship example, so I'm going to color this in red because it's, we're going to think of this as speed dating. This is us trying all the new products. This is us finding the, everybody put it on your exam. The cookies and cream Twix. This is everybody. This is everybody putting cookies and cream Twix, trying it. You see it and you try it, right? This is everybody, seeing the weird peat flavors and trying them, or the churro, cinnamon cereal and trying it. That's a speed dating. You haven't associated with the brand. You're like, oh, hey, maybe I want to try it. I want to try it out, right? Like, I like it. I'm going to try the brand. I'm going to try it. I connect with it. It's usually affiliation is a result of good messaging, right? That you're going to be affiliated. You want to try the things. You're going to connect with it. Advertising agencies use this a lot. They just want you to be able to like associate with it, right? They create a jingle so that you can associate something and be like, yeah, I like that. That's fine. I'll try that. It's intrigued me, and I want to go test it out, right? And we have affiliation with a lot of brands. Like, we can try lots of brands. If I'm somewhere, I can get a drink of whatever. I'm not only going to drink a certain, let's say you're somewhere and you need a bottle of water. Is there anybody in this class, and if you want to do the little hand raising, that only has like, you only drink a certain type of water? You're like, I only drink Evian water. I see nobody's raising your hand. Right? I don't need that. I'm not like, I'm going to drink whatever bottle of water there is if this is my only choice because I'm thirsty and I don't care. We don't make mistake. We don't mistake affiliation for value. Affiliation isn't value over the brand yet. Advertising alone doesn't make a relationship, right? Like seeing a commercial doesn't make the relationship that we have with a brand. Okay. We move into our second stage, which is validation. Oh, sorry, wrong color. Validation as a creation of value. And this is, I'll get back to my red here. This is what we're going to think about as going steady. Because we're on the 1950s. Somebody's going to give somebody a ring, you know, their jacket, right? This is going steady. I don't want to call it dating because we just call it speed dating, and I don't want to get those two things confused. I also didn't come up with this, so if you think it's stupid, I mean, I'm using it. I like it enough, but I did not generate this idea. Validation is the idea that I need that. So we move past this idea like, oh, yeah, I'll try it. I like it. It's fine. I like the brand or whatever. To like, I need that or I demand that good. This is this type of idea that great positioning, that is not just that you've seen commercials, but that you see it everywhere it exists, that you're going to go look for it, that you feel validated choosing that product over other products. So think about something like Kraft macaroni and cheese. Does anybody have a preference for the Kraft macaroni and cheese versus the cheap brand? Anybody? Can't see. Velveeta is better. Or Velveeta. We can use Velveeta cheese. Does anybody have a preference for Velveeta shells over the other ones? Now, there's a cheap brand of Velveeta shells. Are you going to buy the cheap brand? Can't see anybody's answers. No.
They're literally terrible. They're not even in comparison. They're awful.
Right? But this is a validation. This is a validation of like of what your brand associations are. Because I'm betting that, I mean, I'm sure that there is a flavor profile difference. Whatever's cheapest, if you're yeah, that's right. Nathan's. Is that a lot of times there's just validation in the branding of things, right? That like we want this brand because it's associated with what we get. We get the that I'm buying Velveeta versus what are the cheap ones, or maybe that it does taste better, or maybe it doesn't. But we have this validation. It's also temporary, right? That it's another competing firm can lure you away. So while we all really like Velveeta, and we're going to get to Velveeta is actually going to be probably in our next relationship stage based on what you're telling me. When we think about validation is like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy this brand because I like it better. I'm associated with it. But somebody else could probably convince me to go to another brand, right? Like I like Snickers. I mean, I do like Snickers. That's not. But let's say that like I just like Snickers, and I'm going to buy Snickers over any other candy bar, except that somebody could probably come market to me, and I would buy the Twix, cookies and cream because I want to try it, right? So I'm not like totally sold out. We're not married yet. We're just going steady. And it's not going to, validation won't sustain a brand in the long run, right? Because it's still just like, I need that. Like, I would prefer that over other things, but I'm still able to be lured away. What brands are looking for is the final stage, and this is identity. And this is, hold on, what do I have? I am that. And in our relationship, silly thing here, this is marriage. You've joined.
It's a big step.
It is a big step. It is a big step to say, I am this thing, right? This is like, it's going to take a big breakup to get out of this, right? Like, and this is, mac and cheese. Yeah, this is going to be your Velveeta mac and cheese. Yeah, I am Velveeta, right? Exactly, Christina. So no, I literally think that y'all are Velveeta. You've identified with this brand. So identity is this mix of messaging, positioning, authenticity. Yeah, see, look at Jacob. Sorry, he's got his Velveeta mac and cheese in there. This is the line between brand and customer is dynamic. Okay, so this is when I say I am that. I mean, I'm not saying you have to say that you're macaroni and cheese, but you're like, I'm a macaroni and cheese person, right? So the idea is Velveeta. You are a Velveeta shells and cheese people. Okay, you don't want to go get the other ones. They're all going to be crap. You are Velveeta mac and cheese people. If you have the other option, you're probably not going to pick it because that's who you are. The same thing, people like, can I see a show of hands on the little reactionary thing? If you are a Coke person, nobody's a Coke person. That's surprising. Matthew is. Can anybody show me if you're a Pepsi person? There's a lot more Pepsi people.
Mountain Dew. The only good thing, like I said before, is Mountain Dew.
Yeah. No, and that's fine. That's a Pepsi product. So that's exactly what we want to do. Or Dr. Pepper. Yeah, Dr. Pepper is another option out there that gets sold with the other ones. But we become these brands, right? Like how many of you Mountain Dew people, if I'm like, here, let me water. How many of you would be happy if I was like, here, let me give you a Fanta? Like, I mean, if you were starving and you would drink it, but I'm like, oh, I have a Mountain Dew, but would you rather have a Fanta? You're like, no, I'm a Mountain Dew person, right? Like you.
I mean, I'm gonna drink an orange Fanta or a purple Fanta. There's just certain drinks, like the darker drinks, I'm not a fan of, like Coke and Pepsi and like that type of stuff. Like I just don't.
No, and that's preference, and there's also like food preferences here. The idea is like I literally have Velveeta cheese in my notes.
Could you associate this with like sport, like college sport teams or like even professional sports teams, like how people like live and die for them?
Yeah, totally. So that no, like legit. I think Christina's laughing at Christopher's joke in the chat box, but no, that is totally it. That's a brand thing. So this isn't just food, right? Like we're using food as an example. This could be anything. Identity is totally where everybody's like, I'm Tennessee, I bleed orange. Give me the checkered pants, and I don't know what all you do because I don't care about sports. I mean, not that I don't care about anything, but way to be, swim team, go fight it, win. I don't know. That was for you guys. So yeah, that's totally this identity that like I'm married to it. And so that means when the teams are doing good, I'm happy, and when the teams are doing bad, I'm really sad. That's associated with me, my being, my identity is tied into this. It's also like, here's a joke that's like, the brands almost become this religious experience, and people turn into brand evangelists. That's literally the note we have for this. Turning into a brand evangelist is that when you're in this identity stage, you're telling everybody about their brand. Literally, I asked you about macaroni and cheese, and you all were very clearly telling me about Velveeta shells and why they are superior to all the other macaroni and cheeses, right? That is a brand evangelist. The same thing with like people who shop at Trader Joe's, right? And they tell you about Trader Joe's because it's so amazing and cheap and all the good deals they get at Trader Joe's. They're brand evangelists. They've associated with the brand, right? Not that they can't shop at other stores. Obviously, this is not like a one and done thing, but they really like that brand, right? Like they really like those things. And another example, like Mac fanboys, right? Like I probably fall into that. Like I like a lot of Mac things. I'm probably just going to buy the Mac thing because I like it, because it works with all my other systems, right? There are people who are Windows or PCs or anything else. You could be a fanboy of whatever, or fangirl, fan person, I think is maybe the more collective term here. But we choose to buy them and use and promote them because we've identified with the brand. Your generation, now, are you all really, really young millennials, or are you Gen Zers? I think you're Gen Zers now. I see.
I think we're Gen Z.
Or Gen Z.
Yeah. So the only reason I bring that up, and we'll talk about generations, I don't know, some other day. Gen Z specifically. So millennials, that's my generation. And Matthew, you're probably millennial with me. Millennials associated were the kind of first to associate brand and purchasing brands because not only brands, but like kind of moving into this kind of social consciousness of our branding and saying like, hey, we're going to maybe buy brands because they have kind of some kind of social conscious, because they're making socially conscious decisions. Gen Z, your generation, has been known to like your purchasing behavior is that you're going to literally affiliate with brands that are associated with your personal values. So like for my generation or previous generations, it was like, yeah, I'm going to buy this because I like the product, or I like the brand, or I like the goods that are coming out of it. And as we're moving through, it's now becoming the brand has to be associated with my identity. And if you're not associated with my identity, I'm cutting your brand out. And so it's this kind of like a little bit of whiplash that happens though when our ideas change, right? When those go off the brand, or when a brand doesn't follow through. When a brand kind of fails at the identity that we've associated with it, and they fail, okay, we're done, right? Whereas like kind of other generations said, hey, it's still a company. They're still making company decisions. I still want the product, right? And not having to be personally associated with it. We're going to be done for the day because our time is up. And that was the end of our funnel discussion anyways. So this is our funnel discussion, emotional thresholds for value. If you have any questions, let me know. Stick around and ask them. Here, I can also stop sharing. It was lovely to see you all. I'll see you on Tuesday, and I'll change the exam date on Canvas as long as I remember to do it. Okay, so see you later if you're leaving. No, ask questions. Bye. Have a good weekend, too. Let me let up there. Oh, everybody's like, I'm out of here. Oh, so nobody has questions. Got it.